Welcome to Ecommerce Revamped, where we break down the hottest trends, insider tips, and strategies shaping the future of e-commerce. Powered by Miva, the engine behind seamless online stores. Now here are your hosts, Rob Stanley and Rick Wilson.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Ecommerce Revamped. Of course, I got Rick Wilson, my co-host, with me on here, and we got a great one today, Rick. This is absolutely, I have to say, I've done a lot of podcasts over the last 6 years. This is the one person I haven't been able to get a hold of. I had to actually come over and work for you to be able to get a hold of this person to get him on a podcast. So we have a great. Go ahead.
I was going to say I had the benefit of meeting Ezra a little over a year ago, and then I had him speak at Camp Miva last year, and as soon as I heard him speak, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I've seen a lot of people in this industry, and you hear a lot of the same old stuff regurgitated. And as soon as I heard Ezra speak, I'm like, I like the way this guy thinks. He's a kindred spirit, and so I'm glad he's here with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm honored to have Ezra Firestone on. We're going to be talking today about how to build a 9-figure brand without burning out. Let's bring Ezra into the studio. Hey, Ezra, how you doing?
Happy to be here, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Great to have you. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's kick this off. So like I said, the title or topic we're going to be at least starting with today is how to build a 9-figure brand without burning out. That happens a lot. But, Ezra, just let's reel it back just a slight bit on what are kind of some of the first steps when launching a new e-commerce brand. What are some of the first things that people should do when they're launching a new e-commerce brand?
Everyone focuses so much on marketing. They think about their ads and they think about what visibility sources they're going to use. And it's like, product is everything. Because look, in the marketplace, the best product doesn't win. The best promise wins. The best promise wins the customer. But the best product keeps the customer. And in today's world, you can't just have a one-time customer. I took a look at, before this session, I went up and I grabbed, we just crossed over 200 million in revenue on one of my brands. And when I looked at the breakdown of first time versus recurring, so like basically the revenue that came from people who bought once versus the revenue that came from people who bought more than once. And it was about 55% repeat. So essentially, let's call it 105 million of that money came from people who bought a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth time. If you don't have that, you're out of business. And so before you start getting all wild about marketing and figuring out what promise you're going to make, you've got to ensure that you have a product that is truly good enough. Look, the product, you don't actually have to have the best product in the marketplace. You just have to have a product that lives up to the promise that you make and that is good enough. And then you have to never stop making your product better. You always have to continue to innovate, iterate, listen to feedback, put it in more sustainable packaging, fix the consistency. I make lotions and potions, so I'm thinking about consistency. Is it too grainy? Is it too, So I think that people make a product once and then they're done. And it's like, no, you're never done with product, and it should be where you start. How is your product better, different, adding to the marketplace and continually getting better? And if you have that attitude and you have that intention, if you just have the intention of, I'm going to make a product, and then I'm going to continually iterate on it until it gets better and better and better, and eventually does become the best product. Problem, when you get started, you don't have a lot of money, so you probably can't develop the best product, but you can develop something good enough that has something unique about it. As an example, I bought a $50,000 a year Amazon soap company. And you'd be thinking, well, hey, you literally just sold a brand for $50 million. Why are you buying a brand that only made $50,000 last year? And it's like, well, I didn't grow up with money, number one. Let's start there. And if this brand that made 50K could make $5 million and have, 800K in profit, or even if it could make 500 grand and have 100 grand in profit, I could take care of my dad's dental work or whatever. It's like, I'm not above making any amount of money. And that product was 6 ounces, big, thick soap bar. You ever seen a six ounce? Dude, everyone has one of these, Wow. This is about the width of what a 3-ounce soap bar would be. Imagine.
So it would be twice that. That's a big soap bar.
You can't fit it in your palm. It's like smashing you in the head. It's giant. And I saw this product and I saw this brand was for sale. And I was like, you know what? I can take this product. I can literally cut it in half and improve the product. I'm not changing anything. I'm just like, it has people who like it. If you got 50 grand in sales, you got product market fit, and it's a massive beast. So I cut them in half. It's the first thing I did. And just doing that, So now I'm selling 2-packs, the same amount of soap, but in 2-packs, a little bit more expensive because their profit margins were terrible, and you gotta have profit in order to run a business. So I'm selling the same product for just a little bit more expensive, but it's better now. It's easier to use. And then now I'm like, all right, where are they getting their ingredients? That one's coming from, a non-sustainable, that ingredient is contributing to the deforestation of palm trees in the Amazon. I don't want that in my product. Get rid of that, switch it out. Now I can talk about that in my messaging. So I'm kind of rambling here, but product, man.
Well, so actually, let me jump in here. So actually, I couldn't have asked for a better Ezra intro. So here's what I love about everything that we just heard. I'm hearing an echo of myself. I don't know where that's coming from, but Ezra thinks differently than your average person, which is why I was drawn to him. Right. So first time I saw him, he's talking about Boom, his biggest brand. I believe it's still your biggest brand. I'm not super up to date on your products. And here he is, and he decides to tackle one of the biggest industries of all time, which is cosmetics. And he decides to turn it on its head. You don't have to tell women that they shouldn't age. You should tell women they should age. And I got great products for you. And like that level of thinking is great. What he's just talking about with the soap, right? It's having a unique worldview and then executing a strategy aligned with his morals. But he may be a hippie, but he's a hippie capitalist. And like, that's the combo of things that I love about hearing him think, because we've all seen someone say, oh, make sure you have a pop-up that gives people 10% off for their first sign-up. And those have gotten so rampant on the web. I'm not saying you shouldn't collect the email address. Those have gotten so rampant on the web that half the time I'm on my phone, I can't figure out how to close out, or maybe I'm on a different browser and I already gotten my 10% off. Like that, the same old bullshit has enshittified the web. And what I see with Ezra doing is thinking differently and improving things. And that's the message I really want people to get. To me, it's mindset. There's a million ways to learn all the day-to-day stuff. It's about mindset first, and then everything flows. So thanks for your ramble. I loved it.
Yeah, that was actually really good, Ezra. And it is entrepreneur mindset for sure. I do want to ask a question though. Like what are some of the mistakes that e-commerce sellers have when they're trying to scale? Like what are some of the common things they run into?
Often people who are scaling, like usually you start a brand and you're a do-it-yourself entrepreneur. You're doing everything because you don't have money and you're just trying to build and you're trying to get started. And you find people that scale comes from outside yourself, right? You can only do as much as you can do. And if you're on the road driving the vehicle, then you can't see the mountains that are up in the distance. You're not navigating. And what you have to learn to do as a do-it-yourself entrepreneur, CEO, founder, is you have to learn how to navigate. And when I started this, I had this strategy called Top Level Tuesdays. And at first it was 4 hours on Tuesdays. That was it. So that's only 4 hours a week where I wasn't doing, and no computer, no phone, no meetings, no nothing, just pen and paper, thinking about where am I going? Is everything in alignment with that? Like, what's my 5-year, 10-year vision? Because it turns out to build something meaningful that has scale, even if you grow really quickly, and I'm going to tell you a story about fast growth. Fast growth, actually, you don't want, and we'll talk about why in a second, but even if you grow really quickly, it still takes 5 to 7 years to grow, to build something truly meaningful. So you have to be looking that far ahead. Everyone's looking like 1 year, 2 year, 3 years ahead, and they're not even looking that far. They're usually looking like 6 months ahead. But it's like, no, you have to give it time. We are planting a seed and watering a garden and growing a plant that's going to fruit for generations. We're not spearing a pig. And so you need time. Jeff Bezos talks about time to wander. He just wanders the halls. He talks to people. He just, like, in that space of not having anything right in front of you, you can think of good things. And so when I talk about scale coming from outside yourself, that is, I frame this, people talk about delegation. You got to delegate. But what does that mean? What it means is you have to buy help. By the way, didn't make it out of high school. So the way that I framed them, not very well educated. And so I have to simplify things down in order to understand them and do them. So the way that I have simplified scale in my own mind is I want to buy help for my brand. And I want to, and the interesting thing about buying help is, number one, turns out even 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, is profoundly impactful. And that 4 hours, if you're buying 20 hours a week of help for your brand at $20 an hour, so it's not that expensive. That 20 hours each week, whatever that costs, whether that's $1,600 a month or whatever it is, in week one, is not as good as in week 20 or week 40. So the help that you're buying gets more sophisticated and better over time. And you, as the entrepreneur, CEO, founder who wants scale, have to create a canvas for that help to grow. And so what I mean by that is, like, when someone comes into my business, I say, hey, within 3 years, we're going to start you in customer support because, and now there's AI for customer support, but we still start people there. So you can learn the product, you can learn what the consumers are worried about, you can kind of understand the business. But within 3 years, I want you to be the best social media manager in the world. Here's how we're going to get you there. These 6 blogs about social media are going to populate into a Slack channel. You're going to read 2 hours a week in that Slack channel of those blogs. You're going to take notes. We're going to meet once a week. We're going to talk about what you learned, how we can implement into the business. You're going to go through one of these 6 courses once every quarter. So you're going through a course every quarter. You're taking notes. You're bringing forth ideas on our weekly meeting about how we can implement that into the business. You're going to go to this event once a year. So you give them like an education program, accountability, and support, and you check in with them and you support them in growing in a particular direction. And I have created, through this exact model, several of who are now considered best social media managers, best advertisers, best project managers in our industry through bringing people up, because my generation, I'm the millennial generation, we grew up with technology. And I have like some of my best employees are people who worked at Target, who were miserable, who understood hard work. They're grinding it out under fluorescent lights. People are smashing them over the head with Butterfingers. It's nightmare, but they know hard work and they understand the internet. They understand technology, but they don't know internet marketing or advertising or social media or project management or copywriting. So you take these people who understand tech and you give them a pathway to work from their laptop from home where they can be around their kids, and they're super grateful. They're super loyal. They're dedicated because they know that working out there in the physical world can be tough and can be a grind. And here they can work from their computer. They can have a nice work-life balance and they can acquire a skill. And so you invest in your people. So I think with scale, it's about how do you take things you're doing and get other people to do them. And the problem with CEOs is they feel like nobody's going to do this as good as me. And it's like, maybe, but maybe they'll do it. I've found everybody does everything better than I ever did. Turns out I thought I was pretty good at shit. No, somebody who's focusing full focus on one thing, they get better. I'm doing a million things. I'm scattered. I'm like having they're just social media and they get better at it. And so I think scale comes from outside of you, and you have to create a container and a deliberate process for bringing people up and frame it like what you are doing is you're buying help for your brand. And you know that help that you're buying for a particular pillar of your brand, whether it's marketing, whether it's product development, whether it's, I say hire the everything person first, which is somebody who shadows you and they do everything you do. Everything you do, they learn supply chain, they learn logistics, they learn HR, they learn finance, they learn legal, they learn everything. That's your future COO. 3 of my companies have a COO who started as my everything person, first employee. Now, got to be loyal, got to be someone who's not going to rip you off, and because this will happen too. Someone will go duplicate your brand. I mean, it's dangerous, right? But anytime that there's the old trope, imagine that you hire somebody, they learn everything and they leave, right? But then imagine you don't hire them and you have to do everything by yourself still. It's just like you can't get out of it. Imagine you don't do that and now you're stuck by yourself. So you have to take risks. And one of those risks is spending a little bit of the energy, because I also think of it less about money and like what energy is this brand creating? What resource is this brand creating? And how can I direct that resource towards the direction of my goal? And it turns out you got to be generous, because people will stick with you if they feel like they're getting some of the upside. If you just hoard it all to yourself and you're balling out on Instagram and you're wearing ripped jeans and you're driving around in Lambos and all the money's going to you and you're not putting any of the money back into the business, back into the team, back into initiatives, it's never going to scale. So it's like, how do you use the energy of the snowball? Don't pull from it before the snowball gets big. Let it get big. Put it all back in. Put it back into the people. Put it back into the systems. Put it back into the processes. Put it back into the product. Like, reinvest as much of the energy of the business back into it. And then it'll get to a point where you can pull out of it far more than you would have if you started pulling at the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And, I had a mentor, I've had a number of mentors, but one of my excellent mentors to help me get over the untrue belief that I thought I could do something better than everyone else. But like Ezra, as CEO, I've had that misthought before. And, good advice I got was, if you feel like someone can do the task 80% as well as you, hire them and make them better than you. And that's where you start from. And the other thing I would say is, when I think about people stealing intellectual property, especially if you have a good mental strategy, the most successful investor in the history of the world is Warren Buffett. And he's fairly public about how he does it. and virtually no one copied them. And so, speaking of the snowball, I mean, that's what he calls what he does. And so like, that's the, I think if you do it with the right attitude and the right angle, whatever, someone, you'll run into some bad seeds, but who cares? You learn your lesson and keep moving.
I've had people steal from me. I've had people copy me. And it's like, people with that attitude and that strategy don't make it very far. If you're not innovative, it's like, okay, good luck. Go do that. See how it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, though, I want to ask Ezra about how do you scale to 9 figures while prioritizing people over profits? I think that's right in line with what kind of where we're talking about right now. And we're going to do that right after this commercial break.
Looking to take your e-commerce business to the next level? Meet Miva, the platform powering seamless online stores with the flexibility you need to grow. From custom solutions to user-friendly tools, Miva helps you create unforgettable shopping experiences. Ready to transform your business? Visit miva.com/podcast and see what's possible.
Yeah, so head on over to miva.com/podcast. We got some free downloadables, some really cool, I don't think our ebook's up there yet, but it will be soon with a lot of tips. But head on over there. And we got Ezra Firestone on, and we're talking about how to build a 9-figure brand without burning out. And right before we went to commercial break, I was asking Ezra, how do you scale to 9 figures while prioritizing people over profits? Take it away, Ezra.
I think most people don't scale to 9 figures. So let's just start there. It's probably not going to happen. You're probably not going to get to 9 figures. 9 figures is a lot of figures. It's like 9 of them, So I have been fortunate enough to grow one of my companies past 200 million in revenue. I've been fortunate enough to now purchase into a company that we do about 100 million a year. And that's a wonderful thing. And it's nice to have scale, but scale is not the goal. Scale is complex and it's a pain in the ass. And you've got all this HR and legal and drama. And by the way, when you scale, the mistakes are more costly. Like I screwed up a product last year. I lost $500,000 because I screwed this product up and I screwed up the ingredients and I couldn't resell it and I couldn't give it away. And it was like, that was that. And so the bigger you get, the more costly the mistakes are. And I think the question is really, how do you grow the most profitable, successful, stable business at any size? And I have 3 steps for how you do this. And we'll talk about people in just a second because I have 3 steps for people as well. And I said this on stage at Camp Miva, and I'll probably say it again on stage at Camp Miva because I really believe this, which is number 1, you first and foremost, you have fun. What does that mean? It doesn't, people think, if you just go for fun, you're going to end up, drinking wine out of a paper bag in the gutter. And it's like, well, it turns out waking up in the gutter is not very fun. So I don't think that's where you end up. Go for fun. But what does it mean have fun? Well, it means take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, physically, have time outside of work, have hobbies, have relationships, so that when you show up to work, you can bring enthusiasm, you can bring a positive attitude, and you can bring positivity and fun, because as the leader, everybody will copy you. They'll copy your attitude. They'll copy your language. They'll copy the way you treat people. They'll copy the way that you respond to crisis. You set the tone for the business. So, and by the way, if you're not having fun, you've missed the point of this game that we call life. I mean, this is my daughter. She died about a year ago. You don't know what's coming. And so do you want to spend your life being miserable? Because it's a choice. You get to choose. You get to, in the West anyways, direct where you put your attention. So you get to choose what you perceive in large part. And then you get to decide the value of what you just perceived. You get to judge the perception. You have a lot of power and agency in that. You mostly get to figure out what you want to bring in, and then you get to figure out whether or not you thought it was good or bad. So you have a lot of agency and power in how you view your world. And if you just viewed your world as good and looked for the good and tried to add more good to it and be positive and had a good time, people would be compelled by that. They'd want to work with you. You'd have you would enjoy your life more. So have a good time. Because if you're not doing that, what are we doing out here? Are you just miserable and we're grinding and slogging? And so that doesn't seem like the way to go. 2, make something wonderful that serves the world, that you continually make better. We touched on that in the beginning. And number 3, be profitable at any scale. 50 grand a year, you've won the game of business. If you're doing that versus, I know people, $50 million a year, they're overwhelmed, they're overworked, they're underfucked, they're up all night drinking fucking Red Bull and eating butterfingers and they're just like miserable and shackled to these businesses that are all crazy and they're working 80 hours a week. It's like, is that worth the extra money? I don't think so. They're going to burn out and they're not enjoying that. It's like, what is the point? Scale at all costs is not the point. Okay. So that's sort of our foundation is we're enjoying ourselves. We're making something good and we're trying to be profitable. And yes, hey, scale's a fun experience to have. I'm not anti-scale. I got 60 hippies to support, man. I'm trying to make 100 million liquid after taxes. I'm getting there. But so I also am interested in wealth creation. I have things in the world that causes in the world that I find meaningful that I want to contribute to, that I need a resource in order to contribute to them. And for me, that's like land preservation and water preservation and some other things. So whatever it is for you, I'm into wealth creation and scale. So now we talked about needing a group of people coalesced around you, engaged in your mission, and interested in moving in the direction of your goals and their goals. So how do you get that? I used to say before, about 2 years ago, I had this presentation and it was, hey, I've been a CEO for 17 years. At that time, I have 170 employees. I have more now, but I had at that time. And not a single one has ever quit. Nobody's ever left because there was some conflict we couldn't surmount, because they weren't making enough money, because I fired some people for being assholes or stealing from me or whatever. But I don't think at that time, or even today, there might not be anyone who could ever, I might be the only person who's ever done that. To be able to keep, I grew up on a commune to understand group dynamics. To keep a group together is hard. A group, how many groups of two make it? Most marriages, most religions don't make it to marriage. Okay. Then of the groups of two that do make it, now, of course, when you're talking about a relationship, you've got intimacy, you've got sex, you've got family dynamics, you've got religion, you've got more complex shit than in work, but still it's a group. Of the groups of two that do make it, how many of them are happy? Not very many. So it's like keeping a group together is not an easy thing. So how do you keep a group together over time? Now, of course, as soon as I gave that presentation, immediately 5 people quit. Now, it was from a company that I bought, not people that I had grown or built up. But yeah, I can't say that anymore. So it was like I jinxed myself, dude. How do you do that? Okay, so a couple steps. Number 1, when somebody joins, you give them 3 directives. First directive, if you see something, say something like the New York City subway. If you see a way that we can make our products better, improve the processes of this company, like maybe these meetings on Monday that you go to are stupid and you're not adding any value, and you could, like, if you see a way we could improve our processes, or if you see a way that you could be enjoying your work life more / serving our customers better, tell somebody, tell your manager. And, so if you see something, say something across any vantage point. Why? Because as humans, we're of equivalent value. You're like, hey, I'm above you in the corporate hierarchy, which unfortunately means nobody tells me the truth. I got to have my cousin in here who sees what's going on, because he'll then tell me, because nobody wants to, everyone's afraid of you because you're the boss. So what I want you to know that I do not see myself as better than you. We're of equivalent value. And from your vantage point, it's a corporate hierarchy, but from your vantage point, you're the only one who can see what you can see. And whatever you see, I want to know, because it's valuable. And look, we might not take it into account every time, but we want to at least know, and we want you to know that you have agency and autonomy within the company to direct the ship. Your voice, your viewpoint, what you want, how you see it matters. And we want to know that. And then it turns out, once people feel like they have agency and autonomy and freedom and their viewpoint is valued, all your best ideas come from the lowest part of the organization, because those are the ones who are interfacing with the customers and the products. And so you create this culture where people are not afraid to express themselves. They're not going to be punished if they express themselves. And look, any group, you're going to have problems. You're going to have managers bulldogging and power dynamicing on the people below them. You're going to have conflict. You're going to have people feeling like other people are taking credit for their work. You're not getting out of conflict. You can't get a group of humans together, shit's going to go down. So you're going to have to figure out how to navigate that. We can get that in a second. But you make people feel, and you actually intend. Turns out you don't actually have to do much other than care about them as humans and intend to have them grow within your organization. That's the next step. You say, look, while you're here, I know you're not going to stay with me forever, but while you're here, I want your career trajectory to go up. Now, look, you might be in customer support and there may not be any upward mobility within our organization. Maybe nothing opens up in marketing, or nothing opens up in project management, or nothing opens up in development or whatever. But what are you interested in? Are you interested in copywriting? Are you interested in project? What are you interested? Whatever you're interested in, we're going to support you in growing in that direction so that when you leave here, you're better off than when you came in the door. And you create a plan for every individual to have some form of growth. It could look like, hey, you get $1,000 a year towards education for what you're interested in. And we want reports once a quarter of what you're using your $250 for. It doesn't have to be a lot, but some way in which you are bringing them up while they're there. So you've got attention on their growth. Now rambling, I've forgotten what my third point is. But the point is that like you pay really generously as much as you can, and you're very transparent about how they grow their ability of earning. And so we do that. We've gone through a number of ways we do this, but we've figured out that this is our current strategy, is we have a standard either 2% or 3% cost of living increase. So you just get standard, I think it might be 2 actually, across the board inflationary increase in your salary. Then we have what's called OGSM, which is objectives, goals, strategies, and measures. And every individual has their own sort of set of 3 or 4 or 5 goals that are related to their role that are not insurmountable, but maybe some of them are stretched, maybe not, and it's like there's a let's call it a 10 to 20%, depending on your position, percentage of salary bonus that you can earn by hitting those goals. And so you get your little bit of raise every year, and then you got your opportunity for your bonus. And then there's other stuff that we do, like we do, monthly cooking classes with the whole team, and like ways in which for people to relate and have fun together that are outside of work. And I have one other one, which I've now also forgotten, but I will remember if we keep rolling here. But I think like scale comes from outside yourself. You got to build a team that is cohesive, that's interested in the goal of growing your business. And in order to do that, you have to remember that people are humans. Oh, the other one was work-life balance. What a lot of people express to me is they've never worked at a company that took so thoroughly into account their humanity and their lives outside of work. And so, look, there's times where everybody's got to grind, dude. Product launch time, we got to roll. This week's going to be, we're going intense. But in general, what we do is we do half-day Fridays. So all year long at noon on Friday, you're out. And if customer support, they may have a half-day Monday because we have to have 7 days a week support. But you work 4.5 days. You don't work 5 days. And we're not asking you to work 8, 10, 12 hours, or 8 hours on a day, but 10, 12, 14 hours. If you're in leadership, if you're a C-level and you're incentivized with profit share and things like that, you probably have a different relationship to work, but you're still not being asked to work consistently over hours, because what will happen is people will burn out and you won't be able to keep your group together because you'll keep losing people because you're burning through them. And it's like, it's better to burn slower and longer than hot and fast. And when I was talking about, Boom was my biggest business before this $100 million a year nasal irrigator company we bought. We went from 3 million to 17 million, then 17 million to 25 million year. So 3 million, 17 million, 17 million, 25 million over 24 months. And that broke everything. Marketing broke everything. Supply chain couldn't keep up. Customer support couldn't keep up. We couldn't build a team fast enough. Nothing could keep up. And we had like 7,000 open support tickets at one point. And it took us a long time to recover from that. We did eventually recover, but it's like, you'd rather grow slower than grow really fast, because growing really fast, you probably don't have the ability for your supply chain to we didn't even have the money to buy the product. We were bringing it. It was like, so slow growth is better. And that's the same thing with team. You don't need a big team. You need one person who gets really good. And then another person, maybe 6 months later, you can grow slow. So scale happens slower than you think in an ideal scenario, and it comes from outside yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple thoughts there. Like, first of all, I think Miva is also a well-known business for work-life balance. I've focused on that for a long time because, especially before the work from home revolution that came with pandemic, the people you spend your life with at the office are sometimes the people you spend most of your time with, but at least the second most of your time with. And like, I don't want to spend the first or second most of my time with a group of assholes. And so like, that was always my North Star. And if my dog had something go wrong half an hour before this podcast, I would have taken my dog to the vet and texted Ezra and been like, I'll catch up with you later. I have an emergency, or something going on with my wife and our new baby. Like, those things are all things that are more important than this. Well, this is still equal. And then I think people like to be seen, heard, acknowledged, validated. That's the humanity part. And if you don't see them as people, you really do get stuck. You can't go anywhere. And so I mean, I love it. It reminds me of the old book Think and Grow Rich. Like the funny thing about that book is the secret's in the title, which is Think and Grow Rich, but he never actually says it in the book. You got to kind of sneak up on the solution. And I think that's what Ezra's wisdom here is he's giving you some insights into a different view of the world that'll help you build the life you want as an entrepreneur. And that's really why I love hearing from him and talking to him. And I'm always fascinated by his brand and his stories.
Absolutely. It's like a blueprint. I swear we just listened to a blueprint that entrepreneurs should be following. Absolutely. 100%. And Ezra, before we roll into having you give a little more information kind of about how to get a hold of you and things like that, I do have one last little question I wanted to ask you though, and you can just keep it short if you'd like, but what trends are you seeing in e-commerce coming up in 2025?
What's interesting about e-commerce in 2025 is the battle for expedited payment methods. So you've got Amazon Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Shop Pay, PayPal, TikTok Pay, Meta Pay. And what's happening is the biggest aggregators of commerce are battling for who processes the payment. And what that is resulting in is them all trying to push the payments through their platform and their app on your mobile device. And so I would say over the next 10 years, the e-commerce website becomes less and less the destination where purchases happen. We're not there yet. Of course, Amazon, look, they've got one app and all their they've done this the best. They've got one app, all their merchants are there. Okay. Then all their consumers have the app downloaded on the phone. You can shop from any one of their merchants on that one app, and you can do one-click payments, and all your tracking is in there. All your customer support is in there. It's all siloed. Now, the second best is actually TikTok. TikTok has looked at Amazon, and they did the same thing, but what they added in was the creator economy. So within TikToks, now you can do all that, but you can also engage with creators, get content made for your brand, get, your affiliate promotions are in there as well. Now, Amazon launched Amazon Creators just now to try to compete with TikTok because they saw, this is a really good idea. Affiliate marketing, content marketing, all that stuff can be done in the app also. So I think we're going to see more and more of that trying to eat into the market share of our websites. Of course, for us, we don't want that. We want all of our sales on our website because on our website, we control the data. We control the consumer. We have far more control. We can choose our own merchant accounts. We don't have to be forced into their stupid merchant accounts where the rates are high. And so it's like what we want to focus on is more and better paid advertising, more and better and more optimized sales processes. And what that looks like is like it used to be, you could have one message: simplified makeup for women over 50. That worked. Not anymore. Now it's like you take my nasal irrigator, show it to you here. Called Navage. Put it in your nose and it washes you out. It's like a powered neti pot. Hey, our viewpoint is that, science says that bacteria enters through your nose, and that if you clean your nasal passages, you're less likely to get sick, you're less likely to catch viruses, and you're generally healthier. So healthy nose, healthy life. That's our tagline, right? Well, we used to be able to be like, that was our message, and that worked. And you still need the general message, but then now we need like, hey, do you live in a city? Are you affected by smog? This could really help you. Hey, are you a singer, podcaster, or actor who needs to use your voice and it gets, or singer? You may not know about this. Hey, do you, do you live in a dry climate in the winter and you get all dried out? Like we need are you a firefighter? Are you somebody who mows your lawn, works in the yard, gets all these dust particles and stuff, and then comes into the house and you're itchy and you got to shower? This is another part of your routine that's going to support you because it is cleaning a part of your body that you wouldn't have thought to clean that is affected by this activity that you're a part of. So we need that kind of messaging, and that means ads, emails, landing pages for these different avatars, and that is how we scale over the next couple of years. It's not broad general stuff, it's specific. And then also with the advertising platforms, Google, Facebook, YouTube, etc., they're stupider than they've ever been at finding who your ideal customer is. That's, by the way, I just bought into this brand, fun brand, because Apple sabotaged them. Apple said, we own the device. We're not going to let you see anything that happens outside of your app because we want the advertising. It's a nice business you have, this advertising business. We think we'll take that from you. Apple's building their own ad network. So as they are less and less sophisticated, the ad platforms, you have to be more and more sophisticated in honing your messaging for your different avatars.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great information. Let's pivot a little bit into, tell us a bit more about smartmarketer.com, what people can learn from there, and then also let everybody know how to get a hold of you.
Smartmarketer.com, baby. So we're an advertising agency, first and foremost. We'll run your ads. We'll do your email marketing. We'll do your ad creative. And we'll do that across Facebook, Google, whatever you're interested in. And we spend tens of millions a month on paid advertising on behalf of other brands. I had a funny experience where I spoke at an event and I was talking about us versus them marketing. So we'll do like us versus Neti Pot, we'll do like us versus them. It's kind of like the new before and after, but it really works. And I was talking about how Cheech and Chong keep targeting me. They think I'm their ideal consumer. And I just see their ads everywhere, man. They're trying to get me to buy their THC, I think they're called like space chews that send you to outer space. And so I was talking about them because they have a really good us versus them section on their landing page. And I get off stage and I get a notification on LinkedIn. And it's like, hey man, thanks for the shout out. And I'm like, I didn't shout anybody out. Like, what is he talking about? I looked at it, it's like the CMO of Cheech and Chong. So now I'm talking to Cheech and Chong about running their ads, which would be awesome. I would love to run Cheech and Chong's paid ads for their edible business. Yeah, anyway, Smart Marketer, we run ads for people. We also do education. So we'll do like courses and events. We have one-on-one coaching. We have masterminds. So if you're a brand that really wants to scale and is looking for continual support inside of a Slack group on weekly calls, come into events, like we do that kind of thing where we kind of like take cohorts of people and help them scale their businesses through like coaching and accountability and support and ideas. Yeah, and you can reach it. We're smartmarketer.com. It's run by when my e-commerce businesses really took off, I no longer could teach because I was busy. And so I hired a woman who now is co-owner of the company named Molly Pittman, and she's the CEO of that company, and she's wonderful. She's one of the best Facebook advertisers on the planet. She's amazing. And so she kind of runs the day-to-day, and I step in and support in the street strategy for the clients of the agency and mastermind stuff, but it's really run by Molly, and she's wonderful. We should get her at Camp Miva actually sometime. She's a great speaker.
Yeah, we totally should.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's great. So smartmarketer.com, you can find out about our agency and our courses and our masterminds and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So everybody head on over to smartmarketer.com. If you have questions you want to ask Ezra, or maybe, first of all, you should just come to Camp Miva and talk to him. But if you do want to reach out via email, it's support@smartmarketer.com. You can head on over there. Ezra, it was great having you on. Really appreciate all the information. Looking forward to having you at Camp Miva. And we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Ecommerce Revamped. Ready to take your e-commerce business to the next level? Visit Miva.com for the tools to build seamless online stores and unforgettable customer experiences. Until next time, keep your cards full and your customers happy.